In this video, we will be learning how to recognise and translate nouns in singular and plural, both as the subject and the object of sentences. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Bambas Bat. Today we're going to look at some slightly more complex sentences for beginners by building on the work of my video Nominative and Accusative Simple Sentences, and adding to our knowledge of Latin nouns. I'm going to briefly recap what we did in that video, but if you want to watch the whole thing for extra practice, then you can find it on the Bambas Bat channel, and there's a link in the description. Before we start, I want to give you this simple cheat sheet, which has everything you need to solidify your understanding of the nominative and the accusative cases. It's got 10 bonus exercises plus the answers and all the information you'll need to practice the skills you're going to learn in this video. So get it now from the link in the description and have it to hand while you're watching this. It will really help. So, in Latin, we have fancy names for everything because we like to sound clever. But just remember that the nominative case is when a noun is the subject of the sentence, and the accusative case is the object of the sentence. The nominative is in charge and does the action. The accusative is never in charge of the verb, and you can think of it as receiving the action. So the man in my sentence is the nominative, he's doing the action, he's greeting, and the girl is the one who's receiving that action. So, Latin has several types of nouns, which of course we have a fancy name for. We call them declensions, and they're called first declension, second declension, third declension, and so on. Now, it can help to think of the first declension as feminine, and the second declension as masculine, a bit like in Romance languages such as French. But it's important to remember that Latin doesn't quite have the same grouping of nouns. Not all first declension nouns will be feminine and not all second declension nouns will be masculine. But just while we start out, it's a good rule of thumb to think about. We're only going to focus on the first 3 noun declensions today, but in other videos I will cover the 4th and 5th declensions, so have a look for those if you want them. You'll find them on my channel. Now, Latin is very good at signposting its grammar, far better than English is. There are some very specific endings for each role that a noun plays, and for each declension there are similar themes. This table is really important for understanding how to translate sentences, and we will be adding extra rows as we improve our Latin grammar. It's a good idea to try to learn these singular, nominative and accusative endings for the first, second and third declension, just for your peace of mind and to make things easier as we make things a bit more complicated later on. The defining feature of the first declension is the a or the am ending. The a ending is when a noun is in charge of a sentence, for example, femina in the nominative, and in the accusative, when the noun is the object of the sentence, this becomes feminam. In the second declension, on the whole, nouns end in us in the nominative, and when the noun is in the object, the accusative, they end in For example, amicus, the friend, is in charge, and amicum, the friend, is now the object of the sentence. The third declension is the weird one. This is the anything else ending for the nominative singular. So, nouns like rex and navis all end up here. However, you'll see that neither of them end with an a, and neither of them end with an us. So that is a helpful hint that they could well be third declension. In the accusative, it becomes easier. You can see they both end in em. Narwis becomes narwem, and rex becomes regem. Rex is a little bit odd. You can see the word, the root of the word, the rex, changes slightly. The x becomes a g. That's just because the Romans preferred the sound of regem to rexem. That's all. So, now we have our singular nouns all figured out. Hooray! But what if we have more than one friend, or if we want 30 ships? What do we do then? Well, luckily, Latin signposts this really well again. We just have to remember the first, second and third declension, and we look back at this table. So this is our table of just the singular endings. We've seen this before. And this is our table with the plural endings added in. Now this might look a little bit stressful, but bear with me and we'll have a look at some sentences using this table to help us. You can still see that the A vowel runs through the first declension and that the E runs through the third declension. So that should be one indicator to help you. Unfortunately, the second declension doesn't really have a theme. The us, the U kind of peters out after the singular. But if you remember the I and the us, that should be helpful for the nominative and the accusative plural endings. Let's just dive in and have a look at some sentences and it will become clear. We're keeping it simple, just 3 nouns and 3 verbs. The eagle-eyed will spot that I have picked 1 first declension noun, 1 second declension noun, and 1 third declension noun. so that we can practice using all of those endings. First of all, spend a minute or two going through these 3 sentences and see if you can put any of it together. Pause the video here until you're ready to go through the meanings. Okay, so the first one, femina, is the nominative, so she's in charge, and amicum is the accusative, so he's receiving the action. This one means the woman greets the friend. For number 2, navis is nominative and feminam is accusative, so the ship carries the woman. And for 3, amicus is in the nominative this time, and navem is the accusative. So this one means the friend sees the ship. Hopefully that wasn't too hard with the table above to help you with the singular nouns. We're going to have a look at another set of Latin sentences now, just using the same nouns and verbs, and we're going to practice our plurals as well. Remember, keep looking at that noun endings table at the top to help you match the nouns with the cases. Pause the video if you want time to figure these out yourself, or I'm going to go through them now if you are ready. So for number 1, I've got 2 nouns. I've got feminae with an AE and amicus with an OS. Using my table at the top, I know that feminae matches the nominative plural for the first declension, and amicus matches the accusative plural for the second declension. So I have women in charge and friends as the object. So this sentence means the women greet the friends. Number 2 has naves, which could either be nominative or accusative plural for the third declension. It also has feminas, which has to be accusative plural. It matches my first declension accusative ending. I can safely assume then, because there's no and word in this sentence, that naves is my nominative. So this sentence means the ships carry the women. Finally, for number 3, amici is second declension nominative plural. Remember, it's amicus in the singular, so I know that it's in the second declension column. And navem is accusative singular. Did you spot that? It's a singular noun. I've put it in there to trick you. So this one means the friends see the ship. How did you do with those? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any problems or you have any questions that you want to ask. One last thing, just to be aware of, you may notice that our verbs have changed slightly. This is just because Latin's very meticulous, and a plural nominative noun needs to have a plural verb to match it. They're usually very easy to spot, and I will go through this in more depth in the video Latin verbs the present tense. For now, an easy rule of thumb for third person verbs, which are he, she, it, or they, is that if one person is doing them, it will end with a T, like videt, salutat, and portat that we've used in this video. If more than one is doing it, more than one person, so you need a plural nominative, it will end in nt. Pause the video if you want to try putting these verbs into singular or plural categories. Otherwise, I'm going to go through it now. So the red verbs are singular, so just one person is doing it. And the blue verbs are plural, which means that more than one person or thing is doing this action. That's just for if you have plural nominatives. Luckily, accusatives don't affect the verb at all. And that's really all there is to recognising and translating plural nominatives and accusatives. Don't forget to go and download my quick and easy cheat sheet for the nominative and accusative cases. You can find it in the link below, and it will really help to solidify the skills that you've just learned in this lesson. I hope you liked this video. If you want to see more Latin videos, please consider subscribing to my channel, Bambasbat, and I'll see you next time.